look at the differentiators, and you compare us to, again, other market leaders, everyone can deliver next day. Everyone has a strong supply chain. Everyone has access to the same products.
Welcome to the 1% Edge podcast, where we dive into the journeys of extraordinary guests committed to getting 1% better every day. Today's topic, high-touch engagement in today's digital world. Especially given all the AI tools and new automation that's out there, is person-to-person engagement really dead? And to help us out with that topic, I'm honored to have Brian Leonard, Vice President of Sales at Quill. Did I say that right, Brian?
Nailed it.
All right, welcome to the show, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's as we were preparing for this, I was thinking about our topic, and it's funny because some organizations are just trying to get to the point of pick up the damn phone, and versus just sending out emails. But in your world, hey, that's not enough either. It's really about getting in front of your target audience. So why don't I step back a second? When you mentioned high touch today, give me a little background. What got you to that area, and why do you think it's so important?
Yeah, so when I started at Quill about a year and a half ago, I obviously signed up as a customer, and when you sign up as a customer, you become part of their bonding and their email strategy. And I remember even working at Quill and being a customer, I got so many emails, I eventually just stopped reading them and unsubscribed from the old company that I worked for. And I knew you get all these junk mail pieces. I don't look at those; they just get pieces of cardboard right in the trash. And so as I thought about, evolving strategies, you get, every person gets so many emails, you get so many social media pieces on LinkedIn or Instagram. And then, you look at, just the digital world of communication overload that we have. How do you set yourself apart? And my success in sales has always fundamentally been on relationships and people, commonalities, and really building trust. And I think the only way you can effectively do that is in person. And I also believe it's, people are, it's a lot harder to be rude and just hang up the phone on someone when you're in person or slam the door in someone's face. And so you get different interaction when you're face to face versus just sending a cold LinkedIn email or just cold calling someone on the phone.
At first, did you get pushback from the sales teams and wanting to do more face-to-face?
It was interesting. My prior role at Cardio Partners, we had always believed in a field sales model. At Quill, they've been in business 60 years and had never had a field sales team. But I think they knew they were missing out on part of the market, on part of the customer building journey. And they also knew that they weren't being effective with their bonding strategy. And, you needed to have a multi-pronged approach where, you could call someone, you could email someone, but if a customer was declining or not being responsive, we need to get someone in front of that customer to figure out what was going on. And so we started with a small pilot and called it Project Reignite. And we took some of our biggest declining customers in a few specific states and put field sales reps in those states and had an 80% success rate, bring those customers back to their, we call R12 or, year over year spend, getting it back on track by having someone meet there and show the value of, hey, here's who I am. I'm a real person. I'm trustworthy. I have your back. You're doing 6 different jobs. We can make your life easier, and really showing that value proposition. It just comes across so much more genuine and better in person that the pilot worked really well. And we've just scaled it from there and really found ways for our inside and outside sales teams to partner and work together hand in hand to just provide a better customer service experience to our customers. Well, our competitors were not doing that. I'm a customer of Amazon's as well. And I know that, I had recently had an experience where I bought my middle child a 2DO bike. It was like a motorcycle that goes like 40 miles an hour, which was literally the worst mistake ever, buying a 14-power motorcycle that goes that fast. We tried returning it.
Sounds like a marriage counseling session in the future.
Yeah, no idea. I was not a proponent of it to begin with, and I can explain why. We used to call in my prior life, we could call motorcycles donor cycles, because unfortunately when you get in an accident, usually the outcome is not very positive. But So I tried returning it, and it was impossible to get someone on the phone. I couldn't return it. I had to use AI bots and chat bots, and I didn't understand what I was saying. And I was so frustrated because I couldn't actually just talk to a live person on the phone. And so again, that just reinforced to me how we could provide so much of a better customer service experience by having that human touch, that human interaction. And I think as we're getting out of the post-pandemic era, people are swinging back more towards wanting that feeling special, feeling important, and having that face-to-face and human interaction.
Well, some organizations are struggling just to get their employees to go back to the office. How was it at first? Like, did you have employees that were in the field already, close to your customers, or did you have to restructure a little bit?
Yeah, so it's always been an inside sales model. So we had a majority of our sales team members in a Lincolnshire, Illinois office, which is just outside of Chicago, as
Yeah.
well as in Canada and Nova Scotia and Halifax. So they've always been inside sales reps, but our president Mark is a big believer in being in office, and so we've been back in office 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, for a while now. I think it's just a sign, for office supplies, being in office is good for our business. And so it's good for us. And we see a big trend in people going back to work, and, the benefits of the collaboration, and just the benefit you're seeing just in the leasing space in larger metropolitan areas. You're seeing higher occupancy rates, and it's just good for our business overall.
Excellent. All right. So now you're getting them to go more face to face. Was also preparing for that face-to-face meeting a challenge for you? Because, sometimes, it's like anything. Hey, folks, I want you to hit the phones more. And then people hit the phones. They're used to getting no one to pick it up. And when they finally do, they're just unprepared for that conversation. So as you push for more face-to-face, how did you prepare them to have that dialogue with the same confidence that you have?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing of never having a field sales team before I came to Quill was that we could really build it from scratch, and we weren't kind of erasing bad habits, and we weren't having to change how we went to go to market. We literally created the go to market strategy from scratch, but it really truly started from scratch. Like, what's our value proposition? What are our competitive differentiators? Why should someone want to do business with Quill versus an Amazon or a Walmart for Business? And those are impossible companies to compete with. Like, we will never beat Amazon or Walmart on price. And so if we know we're not going to be the cheapest priced option out there, why is someone going to pay more to do business with Quill? And so it's things like our rewards program. Like, every time you buy something, you get rewarded by having the feet on the street and our field sales team. Like, you have a personal relationship. Someone you can call 24/7, 365 to come to your office, make your life easier, create vendor consolidation, create pricing programs. And so, our levers are, we're not going to be the lowest in price, but you're going to get a better customer service experience. We're going to make your life easier. We're going to have your back. You're going to have your product the next day. And so we literally had to identify who we were as an organization and who we wanted to be, and what was important to our customers as well. We kind of mold that all together into our business review and our presentations with our customers to get them to understand the value proposition of Quill. And the other thing I'll say, being in business 60 years, a lot of our purchasers are retiring. And there's a new generation of business owners and executives and how people purchase coming into the marketplace. And so, we need to evolve too of how people could buy from Quill. Is it an app? Is it subscribe and save? Again, Amazon is incredibly innovative in the products they sell and how intuitive and how easy it is to use. So how do we make sure we're staying competitive with the next generation of people who are just addicted and connected to their phones 24/7? And that was never the previous model of Quill.
It's interesting. That was going to be my next question. So you got old timers like me that like to talk to somebody and sees value in seeing someone, getting their number and going, hey, I'm going to call you if I got an issue, right? But I'm also aware, hey, we got a couple of generations before me that are now the majority of the workforce. And they've grown up ordering on Amazon, not talking to anyone. In fact, some of them, which is shocking at times, don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So did you run into any resistance, or how did you adapt for those type of customers that didn't want to see you face to face?
Yeah, it's funny, and I kind of relate this back to my almost 18-year-old son, who has a girlfriend who I'm pretty sure has never actually talked to her on the phone. They just Snapchat back and forth for months and days at a time. Like, do you guys ever actually have a true conversation? And do you know how to, actually pick up the phone and call someone? And he just laughs and say, no, we just Snapchat back and forth and send messages. So, it truly is part of the younger generation that, they just want instant gratification. They want things now. They don't need the back and forth. But I think as you also look at that generation, they are more taxed. They're doing more jobs. They have more responsibility in their roles than previous generations. So, for example, an HR manager is probably doing HR. They're doing life safety. They're doing facilities. They're doing 4 or 5 different jobs that maybe 2 or 3 people were doing before them. And so we can come in and say, hey, I know you have multiple responsibilities. We also see you're buying, stuff from Uline and Granger and Amazon. Well, now we can come in as Quill, save you time, save you money, make you look good in front of your boss. You've done better consolidation. You've saved 10% in your costs. And I think true to some extent too, people do enjoy, no matter what generation you are, they, still to some extent enjoy that relationship, that personal, commonalities of went to the same college, the same school, you like the same sports teams, but there's a certain handful of customers that just want to be left alone. And for those customers, we do have a digital book they go into, and they can just kind of be self-managed and be on their own. But I think no matter what your age are, I think you'll always appreciate a relationship and knowing that someone will have your back and take care of you and make you look good in front of your boss or your peers.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned the word differentiate, and talk about a market where, and don't hit me, but on the surface, it does seem like a commodity, right? I can buy a pen and paper from this person. I can buy it from that person. It's still a pen and paper, right? So when you think about differentiation and getting your reps to feel confident about that, what aspects of it, or what tips might you have to really make that stick, especially in a market like yours?
Yeah, I mean, Carlos hit the nail on the head. I mean, in my prior life, coming from cardio partners, we were selling life saving devices. I mean, literally every day we woke up, we were saving people's lives and making a difference in the B2B space. To come to Quill, where it's not a mission driven organization, you're truly selling a commodity, a pen, a piece of paper, a marker. So you don't have that kind of mission driven, values and principles. And so, when you look at the differentiators, and you compare us to, again, the other market leaders, everyone can deliver next day. Everyone has a strong supply chain. Everyone has access to the same products. And when I started at Quill, everyone kept talking about the people, the people, the people. And as the single biggest reason I love working within this organization is our competitive differentiator is our people. We answer the phone within 30 seconds. Our average tenure of our sales team is over 7 years. Like, people bleed Quill Blue. They love working for the organization. They love what they do. They love supporting our customers. Our customers love us. We have a net promoter score of over 60, which is on the likes of Google and Apple as an organization. That's because of our people, and we call it the human touch. And again, making our customers' lives easy. They need something, they can fax us, they can email us, they can call us. We can be there in person tomorrow. However they want to conduct business with us, we meet them and do business the way they want. We don't say, hey, we have a square hole and you have to fit into that. We say, hey, however you want to transact with us, we'll make it happen. We'll make your life easier. We'll save you time. We'll make you look good. And we'll just make transacting with Quill an easy, less stressful process, and you'll enjoy working with us in the meantime. And so I truly believe that, our people are what make us different, will make us better.
Yeah, it's when we talked in preparing for this call, it's it's almost two sides of the. On one side, it's the front end sales side, right? Mm-hmm. Getting that initial conversation, showing them that we're there, and that you're going to get a human being that's going to give you a personal touch. But then, also on the flip side, if I got this right, you also put a lot of emphasis on, once they do become a customer, how you take care of them and make sure that they feel, when something goes wrong, that, you guys immediately react and drive it. And one of the things I talk with folks about is, I always said, do you have any products that you're loyal to? And, everybody raises their hand, and I go, are you loyal because they do everything right? Or are you loyal to them because when something goes wrong, they reacted in a way that they earned your trust forever? Yeah. And obviously it's usually the latter, right? And that's something you all have put in place behind your business that I think is a big differentiator. Do your teams, How do they work together? How does front end sales work with the back office to kind of create that synergy?
So, yeah, so glad you brought that up, Carlos, because one of the things that our customers often forget, and we bring it up in our QBRs, is they when things go right, it's like out of sight, out of mind. You when things are going right, you don't hear from your customers, but when things are going wrong, you hear from them very quickly. But when we talk with our customers, in our business reviews, we say, hey, just so you know, you sent us, in the past 6 months, 2,000 emails. We answered 800 chats. We sent you 6,000 SKUs that 5,800 were in stock and arrived the next day. And they're like, oh my, I had no idea how much we relied on you as an organization through chat, through email, through phone calls, through next day delivery, through on time delivery. And you give them those stats, and they quickly realize how valuable and important the organization is. But you could do 3,000 things right this year and do one thing wrong and handle it poorly and ruin that relationship forever. And so, we put just as much emphasis on doing things right, but also saying, hey, when we do things wrong, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we'll make sure we make it right and correct the problem and make sure it doesn't happen again, and make sure that customer feels good that, that one time something went wrong, we handled it. And they'll remember that one time more than they'll remember the 3,000 things that went right.
Yeah, I tell a story like I'll always be a fan of Nordstrom's. And it ain't because they're cheap. Yep. But I went in there one time with a shirt that I had bought like 3 months earlier. And by the way, I was probably in sweatpants and did not look my best. I didn't look like the typical Nordstrom customer, or at least one that they wanted. And the gentleman asked, and I didn't have my receipt, which, right off the bat, some retailers, they'd be like, forget it. Yeah. The gentleman asked me, when did I buy it? And I said, I'm going to be honest with you, it was at least 3 months ago, maybe 4. And he goes, oh, that's good to know, because it went on sale about a month ago. And I want to make sure we give you a refund for the total price, not just the sales price. And I was like, what? And I was like, I'm willing to go buy another shirt, whatever. It's my fault I lost the receipt. He goes, then I'll give you a refund and then shop around and let me know if I can help you. And man, it earned my trust in a company and how they treat their customers. And you hear things like that at like the Four Seasons, for example, how they empower every employee to try to get it right. And I think that is something that culturally makes a difference, right? And you can see how that culture kind of bleeds down to the bottom line. Have you seen the results of this type of in-person, person-to-person type of treatment of your customers, coming back to your bottom line?
Yeah, I mean, we're a $1 billion company at Quill. We're already seeing over a percentage point of growth year over year. This team's not even a year old. Our revenue with that team alone in field sales is growing 40% month over month. By the end of the year, we'll have close to, going into next year, 40 field sales reps. Year to date, we've grown almost $50 million in pipeline. And again, and all that stuff is just nice and looks good and feels good. But I think what the important metric to me is the project reignite. The customers that are declining, going away, and not buying from us are coming back at an 80% rate. Once we meet with them in person, describe our value proposition, get them to have that human touch experience and the interaction with Quill, they're coming back to us versus going to just the online e-commerce competitors. And to me, that's a true sign of success when we can get them in front of the customers, people that stop buying from us and come back and become Quill customers again. To me, that's just the best feeling and a true home run.
It's really impressive, Brian, especially I think over the last few years, cash is expensive and every CFO out there is trying to tighten the belt. To see them, go to a vendor or back to a vendor, which they know is a premium priced vendor, is really impressive. Yeah. Now, speaking of impressive, Brian, our audience might not notice, but, you were medical devices. Now you're in office supplies in a way. How in the world did that happen? Maybe we can share some of that story, because I think there's a lot of lessons learned there too.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a bit of quite a journey, a lot of hard work, and as my old boss Jeff Presley used to say, sometimes you just trip on shit when you're out there making things happen. And I graduated high school with a 1.7 GPA. I will never forget to this day. My parents gave me a card and said, "Congratulating high school," without even reading a single book. My parents have both been in the medical field, and I always loved the medical field. So my senior year in high school, I actually became an EMT. Went to paramedic school and worked on the ambulance as an EMT for about 5 years. And back in Iowa, it's privatized. So I think I was making $12 an hour, working crazy hours and seeing things you never want to see. And at the time, one of my friends owned 5 different daycares. So I think I was 21 years old. And she said, hey, we need 100 people trained in CPR, and I need it done this weekend, or DCFS is going to close our daycares down. And again, I can't remember something that happened last week, but I remember specifically going through paramedic school and getting trained as a CPR instructor, thinking, I am never going to use this. Why am I sitting through a 2-day class learning to teach CPR? Well, lo and behold, she asked if I could teach 100 people. She's like, I'll pay you $30 a person. So in a 2-day span, I made $3,000. And I love talking. I love the medical field. I love being in front of people. And one thing led to another. And I started doing research and finding out daycares and doctors' offices. And they all need to have this training. And I also knew from working on the ambulance that if you're not trained in CPR and a medical emergency happens, your chance of survival is very low. It just blew my mind that parents weren't trained to help their children if they choke, or you could have a loved one who's having a heart attack. And so started this business part-time, got busy enough about 1.5 years later where I could, quit the ambulance and start Cardio Partners full-time. Ran it for about a year back in Iowa, and then moved to Chicago where I met this incredible guy named Jerry Roper from the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, who really took me under his wing and introduced me to a lot of business executives like Tom Whiffler from Red Healthcare and Glenn Tilton from United Airlines, and just incredible people that took me under their wing and helped me become an effective business person, and grew it to one of the largest medical device and training companies in the B2B space. If you go into any Target, Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, and you go to customer service, you'll see a Cardio Partners AED cabinet there. And in 2017, sold to an incredible private equity group called Sarnova. I stayed on there until about 2024, where Quill reached out, and I looked at that kind of inflection point in my career where, and not to sound cocky or overconfident, but in the space that I was in at Cardio Partners, I was one of the best in the world. I deployed more devices. I'd kind of hit all of the, check boxes I wanted to hit per se. And so I thought, I could just stay at Cardio Partners and just kind of ride things out till I retire, or I could take on a new challenge and really start from the bottom and build my way up again. And I chose that route. I went to Quill, a business where I knew nothing about it. I'd never been in the retail space. I'd never sold pens and paper and commodities. And it was one of the best learning experiences I've ever had in my career, where I learned everything all over again. It was exciting, invigorating. Had a great team supported me, a great boss and great SLT team at Quill that I surrounded myself with, and it's been an awesome ride and a great learning experience, and great for my career to get different perspectives.
Well, you got a pretty interesting career, because as I was reading through it, you also spent time as a deputy coroner along the way.
I did. So, I had moved to Chicago, out in the suburbs of Oswego, and my wife was sitting in a park one day with the, it's very interesting in Illinois that the coroner is actually an elected position, where most states have to be a physician. In Illinois, it's an elected position. And so she met a lady named Jackie Purcell, who's just an incredible human being. And she said, hey, I'm really shorthanded. I could use some help. And I always missed being in the medical field. And so I blindly volunteered to help out, went through some training down in St. Louis, and, you go on the scene and, kind of determine how they died, and was it natural? They need they need an autopsy, and kind of do that scene investigation. And so a lot of things that I wish I never saw. And there's a whole other side of the world that happens when everyone's sleeping. But I did it for a few years and helped her out and helped the community out. And again, one of those jobs make you realize how lucky you are and how fragile. I mean, I can name instances where literally a fraction of an inch or a second makes the difference between life and death, and just how truly precious life can be. And goes back to my comment of my son getting a motorcycle, and those and how dangerous things like that really are.
Well, it's also really great. It was a way of you giving back as well, right? Taking your expertise and giving back to the community, which I think is awesome, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool thing that you did, man.
Yeah.
All right. So, Brian, what's your 1% edge? What are you working on these days to get even a little bit better every day yourself?
Yeah. So, if I divide it, personal and business, personal, this is something I've always struggled with is work-life balance, and I think it's something even at my age of 43, I've just not mastered. And, just realizing that you don't need to respond to every email within 30 seconds, and you don't need to check your phone the second you wake up or right before you go to bed. And so if anybody has any tips on that, I'm all ears, but it's something, work in progress that I'm continuing to work on. And then I think, from a business standpoint, really continuing to just to lead and guide on culture. When you have the right people doing the right things, they'll run through a brick wall for you. And I think I'm blessed to have an incredible team at Quill that embodies that. And so I think just getting a little better every day, learning a little bit more, being a student of the game, and never getting complacent. I could have easily just been complacent and stayed at Cardio Partners, but when you continue to challenge yourself, take yourself out of your comfort zone, you will reap rewards for a long time. So I think just continuing from a professional standpoint to go out of my comfort zone, try new things. And the worst that happens is you fail and you pick up the pieces and you learn from it and you try something else, but just continue to evolve and grow organizationally.
So there's a saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast or something like that.
Yep.
And I think when you get to work for a company that has a great culture, it's almost like being part of a family, a fraternity, a sorority, whatever you want to call it, and it sticks with you. But it takes people like yourself to create that, and a leadership team to cultivate that and keep that going. And in my career, I think I've done it once. Early in my career, I fell upon a software company where we had this incredible culture, and I am still friends with the founders. And we still talk about that, it was the only time in their careers that, lightning striked as well. But it had this amazing group of people that wanted to do something. On the personal side, since we got an extra minute, I'll share this with you. I married, my first marriage was to a beautiful Chicago girl. And I moved to Chicago and had a great time up there. But I put work in front of everything else in my life. I've missed weddings, I've missed stuff. And if people ask me what regrets I had, I missed one of my brother-in-law's weddings. Maybe it was the second wedding. It wasn't as important as what I told myself, but it doesn't matter. You never get those life moments back. Yeah. So Brian, there's an episode coming out. It'll be out by the time this is released by a good friend of mine. And he had these 3 values, and it was completely, I think, almost opposite of how I looked at life. And he looked at it as, you got to take care of yourself first. So personal first. If you're not in shape, if you're not mentally right, there's no way you're going to be a good father, a good spouse, and a good worker. Then you got family, because they matter. And although you'll do anything for them, they come before work. And then he had work. And I go, dude, that is completely 180 on how I've been treating life. And now that I'm older and I get a little more time to look back at it, I think he's right. So I'll share that with you.
Yep. It definitely hits home for sure. But it's one of those things you really have to work at, it's easy to say, but doing it is harder, so it's a work in progress.
You got it. One tricks I did, I've gone out to dinner with my better half, and I've left my phone in the car.
Yep.
And I've done it intentionally. And I go, we're not firefighters. You're not, you're not in the life or death business anymore. If you don't return someone's call in an hour, it won't be the end of the day.
Yep.
And people will understand that you're spending time with your family or doing something, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So it's, but I have to force myself, because if I bring the phone into the restaurant with me, hey, we're all addicted to these devices. They were designed that way on a purpose.
100%.
So Brian, if people want to get to know you better or connect with you or even explore a great opportunity at Quill, what might be a great way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I love networking. I love learning, just engaging with other peers. And so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, obviously just under Brian Leonard, or always feel free to email me at brian.leonard@quill.com. Happy to share stories, network, just chat, and meet new people.
Well, thank you. Hey, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
This was awesome. I'm glad you reached out, and a great experience. And thanks for all you do. Spreading the good word, and I love the content you put out.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right, folks, that does it for this week's episode. If you found value in our conversation, please comment back, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, I wish you nothing but the greatest success. Thanks again, Brian.
Thanks, Carlos.